leaving behind everything I love, my home, my family. My mother was the hardest thing I've ever done. I was only 20, a young bride who didn't know how cruel life could be. When I moved to a new country with my husband, I thought I was starting a beautiful new chapter, but instead, I was stepping into a nightmare I could never have imagined. Before we moved, we lived with my parents. Life wasn't easy, but I felt safe, surrounded by love. My mother was my world, my anchor, my source of strength. Saying goodbye to her felt like losing a piece of my soul. I didn't know then how much that goodbye would haunt me. When we left earlier than expected, I felt like I was being torn away from everything familiar and safe. My heart ached in a way I didn't know was possible. Arriving in a foreign country, I was utterly lost. I didn't speak the language, didn't understand the culture, and had no one to turn to. My husband's parents were supposed to be my family, but they treated me like I didn't matter. They showed no kindness, no understanding. I was left to fend for myself, holding my baby in my arms, crying silently as loneliness consumed me. My husband, too afraid to stand up to his father, offered no support. I was utterly alone. The pain of that time still lingers. I remember how sick I became from the overwhelming sadness, how my body seemed to give up under the weight of my broken heart. I saw doctors, but no one could heal the emptiness I felt. Slowly, I forced myself to adapt. I learned the language, found a job, and began to build a life. I worked tirelessly to provide for my family because my husband struggled to do so. He couldn't adapt the way I had, and the burden fell on me. Over time, I accomplished things I never thought possible. I grew stronger, earned a living, and even managed to buy a house. Yet, no matter how much I achieved, the wounds inflicted by my in-laws never healed. My mother-in-law's words still echo in my mind, cutting deep. She once looked at me and said, "Other women have their mothers with them. You don't." She had no idea how much those words hurt her. Maybe she did. And then there was my of Nila. I will never forget the night he told me to leave his house. I was holding my baby, desperate and vulnerable. My husband had been drinking, and I didn't feel safe. I begged to stay, but my father-in-law coldly told me I could leave just, not with my son. The choice was unbearable, but I stayed. I stayed because my son was my world, and I would never abandon him, no matter what it cost me. For years I wore a mask, pretending everything was fine. I called my mother less than I wanted, because my mother-in-law said it was too expensive. I swallowed my pain, my anger, and my heartbreak, all to keep the peace. But now, even after more than 2 decades, I can't forget. I can't forgive. The pain is still there, raw and unyielding. My mother passed away 10 years ago, and the regret of not visiting her more often weighs heavily on me. I let others dictate my life, and I lost precious time with her that I can never get back. Now, when I look at my in-laws, I feel nothing but a cold distance. They don't deserve my love or kindness. I treat them with respect, but that's all I have left to give. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever heal. I don't know how to let go of the pain or if I even can, but I hold on to hope, hope that one day I can feel whole again. For now, all I can do is keep moving forward, even with the weight of the past still pressing on my shoulders.